Hey Zalivas, this is SuperZombGBBQ. We're on part 3 of 3 for the season 3 videos where we are talking about what needs to be changed, what needs to go, and what definitely needs to come in, which is where we start this next video. We're going to be talking about what features, what additional benefits need to come into season 3 for it to become the game that everyone wants it to be, which is one of the best WWE SuperCard or the best SuperCard ever created. There's a lot of hype built around it. It is no longer a mystery. It's no longer a thing that's just going to get announced and just put on your front lap and gone, there you go, there's season 3. You're now actually going to have a bit of time before it comes out. If you haven't seen the announcement for it, details up here to go and see that. The next thing as well is to go and view the other videos. Part 1 talks about what needs to change. Part 2 talks about what needs to come out of the game and be gone forever. And let me know what you think about those in the comment section on those 2 videos. And this one here, we're going to talk about what needs to come in. And there are a lot of things. And I've made 10 that I believe need to come into WWE SuperCard Season 3 for it to become an amazing game. And I've actually got a couple of additional bonus ones. I didn't say were the most important, but maybe things that people should be considering. Now, the first thing I believe that Season 3 needs, and this is something that has been brought up very much before, this is going to reward the people who grind like hell. I can name a couple of people: Double D, DT Breezy, we've also got Radish, for example, and people who are just unlucky and get themselves more than one support. Now, personally, the amount that you need to pull to get yourself a pull in that tier needs to come down, the amount of cards needs to go up. But that's a different story entirely. What I'm talking about is combinable supports. So you should be able to pull a support, maybe get one from King of the Ring as well if you win a King of the Ring, and that support should be able to be combined with 2, maybe 3 cards. Maybe make it 3 cards to make it more obvious that it's something which can be upgraded. If you were to be able to have combined supports, it would provide a benefit to those who play the game more and give more to play time, which then obviously makes the other people below them kind of more envious of them. A combinable support option would allow people, for example, to have managers which are way more in excess of one that's normal, because that other person had, you might even want to put managers in packs and whatnot if that was something that was available. But I definitely feel that combinable supports is something that should come into SuperCard to give those people an additional edge. Now, one of the biggest announcements about Season 3 is that there's going to be ranked play, which means you can play ranked matches against other people, which is going to then put you into a league of where that person, collecting wise and also skill wise, is in the game. Now, my belief, and again, you may disagree with me here, is that they need to have an option where you can go into someone's profile and actually play that person if they're at the top of the leaderboards. So if they have a top 100 or a top 1000 leaderboard, for example, for where people are in the world, those people should be able to have their deck challenged by anyone at any time. Just complete free-for-all, kind of like the wild game mode they're explaining, where people can use Season 1, Season 2, Season 3 cards. I think that would be an amazing addition to the game, which would massively improve the playability and would make people want to continue to play the game on a regular basis, so they can play against the people they've seen on YouTube or play against the people who they've just heard from the community. For example, I mentioned earlier on Double D, DT Breezy and Radish, for example. People who play lots of games, they may decide to go up against those and see if they can play them instead of having to find them in exhibition. That would be an amazing way. And maybe if you score a win against those people, maybe you get additional XP if they're at the top and their deck level is absolutely insanely good. I would say that that'd be an incredible way of rewarding people for winning those big games against other people, and just have it as a fun mode, way people can actually go into a ranked competitive play and go, you know what, I don't want to earn XP points from this, but I actually want to play against SuperZombGBBQ, I want to play against Biggie Dude, I want to play against those people. And you know what, yes, bragging rights, but they're not going to care too much. It's just a way of giving that person the ability of playing against people they know, maybe their friends, and saying, yeah, you know what, I actually beat you in this game at this point. It's a little bit of friendly banter. What this also does is it improves the community relationship it has as well with the game overall. I think the community would massively accept that as an additional benefit to the game, of giving you the option of being able to play your friends and also your enemies as such in the game, or arch rivals, in a competitive game without actually having to play directly one against another. Now, this one may be slightly harder to implement, but I've got a feeling that this could make a massive difference. I believe that with the inclusion of Season 1, Season 2 and Season 3 cards into Season 3, this opens up the possibility for either a trade house or an auction house where people can use those rare cards to barter against other people's cards as well. Alternatively, offering people the ability to buy non-event cards or classic cards, not event cards in the current game, to their advantage and buy those single or those event cards for a currency built up in game. Maybe something you can only do by grinding or getting a certain amount of money in the bank points as an example. An in-game trading system may just not necessarily a fully in-game trading system, but an auction house of some kind. People can get rid of their duplicate cards, or people can gift people their cards in their team if they've been in the team for a certain amount of time, maybe a month for example. That could be one way of potentially offering people the option of giving away their cards, alternatively passing on cards to people who want to go up in the tiers and have been playing, for example, a long time in Legendary, not had the chance to get themselves any packs and they're still in Legendary tier, but can buy themselves a Survivor card by using their in-game credit system, for example, or by bartering their own cards against the other person's cards, maybe an event card of some kind from previous Season 1, for example, or Season 2 that they've had. I think that could go a long way to maybe offering maybe a different additional element, and we've seen how popular games like Top Slam are and My NBA for offering those kind of systems. Now, the fourth thing that needs to happen absolutely is an achievement center. Now, in the original WWE SuperCard and in this WWE SuperCard, there are achievements you can get in Game Center and on the Android Google Store through Android. Unfortunately, you cannot get anything in game. There is no in-game items. My belief is that if you are an old school Season 1, Season 2 player, you should get achievements saying you have paid in those tiers, which are specifically for those players. And for every PCC, Road to Glory, or any event that you participate in, you should get a stamp, a mark, something that says where you finished, how long it took you to finish, did you finish it, and did you get the pro of that card, even if that is literally symbolized by a simple star or a stamp, something that details that you were in that event and you finished in that point. That would be massive for PCC and potentially a way of offering some kind of physical record system to say who finished where, what and when. And I believe if you had the option of offering maybe a licensed image of a card or even the signature of that superstar for finishing in the top 10 of a PCC, for example, you get yourself a John Cena image with your signature on it, just a la the WWE Slam cards, for example. Just imagine how many people would try to get that, to get themselves that one image, which only, let's say, 10 other people, 20, 30 other people are going to get. It just offers a rarity that you cannot get anywhere else, and maybe then makes that auction house idea even better, or even just makes cards more sought after. Now, this is more something that needs to come back, but something which has kind of gone off the radar, especially with SummerSlam tier coming out. This is something I believe needs to come back, are super tokens. The reaction of the people who are watching my content, Twitch streams and whatnot, for the super tokens was incredible. Let's be honest, all they were images of WWE superstars that you could use on any cards, but they were so popular. And I believe that these should come back on a full-time basis, maybe even going up to Epic and Legendary if people are able to do so maybe later on in the tiers. But a physical supercard is something that people have been crying out for ages. This is the perfect way to add it into the game and add it into exclusivity deals with places like GameStop and Game. Maybe the last thing about exclusivity is not so cool, but overall I think it's a great idea of giving people a physical ability to go out and actually get themselves involved in the game. Maybe do it from day one. That'd be incredible if they did it again. It's also another way of creating a buzz around the game as well. Now, before I go into the next 5 things I think that need to come into WWE SuperCard to make it Season 3 the best season ever, I believe there's 2 things which I'm not going to put in my top 10, which are probably important but maybe not on the front foot important, and these are just 2 ideas that I had off the top of my head. Now, the first was to create a very similar situation at the beginning of Season 1. At the beginning of Season 1, the hype for the game was unreal. The ability to obtain cards, which only certain people had, was a buzz that not many people saw. People would go after the gentleman called Mokai, who got himself that Brock Lesnar Pro, which was only available to him. that card was only available to him. Anyone who finished in the top 5 of a PCC was basically a god. Even the YouTubers, people like Tubby Emu, Tony Pizza Guy, CM Pulse and Luigi were looked up to hugely because they had an epic card that only they could have. Yes, I know the jokes are going to start coming in. The Dean Ambrose and only I have. But yeah, Tubby Emu and all those guys there, Luge had access to cards that no one else can have. I believe this is something that needs to be available more often, not to YouTube personalities, Twitch personalities, to the people who grind their asses off. These people who get themselves top 1, top 5 on a regular basis should have access to a card that no one else can have, and that would mean an area of exclusivity to them, maybe additional stat boost that only they get. It also creates an aura around that card and makes people want to feel, you know, this guy is really good player, and it makes that ranked situation even better, knowing that that one person has got a card that no one else has. Another thing that's not in my top 10, but another idea that I had, was to have a voting system in place in teams. Now this is a way of making sure that people don't get kicked out of a team because someone, if he was a general for example, because if you go to the team mode, if I go to Forever Smug at the moment, it has it on there. So I'm into Forever Smug with Luge at the moment, but you got general, officer, etc. members. And sometimes officers and generals can kick people out. My belief is to kick people out, you should be able to do it without the owner's consent and also without someone overthrowing the team. So having a vote system, maybe 5 out of 6 people have to press a vote to make sure that that person gets out of the team. And my other belief is that if every other person on that team, 9 out of 10, believes that person should be kicked from the team, that person should be allowed to be kicked during a team event. Now the reason why I believe that is important is there's a lot of people who just sit in the team, do 0 points and do no work. I believe that if out of 10 people, 9 or 8 people vote one person off, they should be able to be gone because of 0 points. As an example, I believe as well maybe there should be a limit before that cuts off, just to stop people from being trolled, etc. 100 points in Road to Glory, maybe 100 points in PCC, if Teams PCC does return, and maybe, I don't know, 2 or 3 shards in Team Ring Domination, as an idea of allowing people to have a bit more control over their teams and not feel like they've got people just sitting there, so they can go and grab themselves another member and bring them in at the last minute to finish off a card, for example. Now this next idea was something that was mentioned a long time ago by Cat Daddy, and they mentioned it's an opportunity for people to be able to get old cards from Season 1, Season 2. Now the ability to pull those cards will become null and void once Season 3 comes out. But what if they actually produced a pack or made cards pullable from things like events like Money in the Bank or Road to Glory or PCCs as an example, that made those cards pullable or were rewards for getting certain amount of games played. For example, just imagine a pack where you could get yourself, given you can now use these cards, the old PCC Baron Corbin from this season, or for example, I don't know, the Charlotte, because we're playing Charlotte versus Sasha Banks at the moment, you could get yourself a card like that from a Season 1 or Season 2 throwback pack, which is specifically designed to give you event cards from those tiers. Maybe completely random ones, but definitely a chance of getting those additional cards, especially as you can now use those in Season 3. I feel that'd be a great idea, especially a great idea to get images and whatnot, but also to make those cards have a little bit more rarity, and again strengthen that auction or that trading market a little bit further. Now another small idea I had, and this is something that I believe maybe needs to happen. I think at the moment the 3-tier system we've got, which is we have Legendary and Epic, then Survivor, then WrestleMania tier, needs to change to a 4-tier system. There is clearly way too much time between those because the events eventually become stale and that eventually kills the interest in the game. My belief is if you reduce the pack costs and you were to have, let's say, 3 months for every tier, you could easily start off with Survivor tier in November, move into a Royal Rumble tier in January, move into WrestleMania in April, and then in July move on to a SummerSlam tier before the game resets in October, November time. I believe we need to move to 4 tiers, not 3 tiers as we have right now. That would create a lot more buzz in the game, and as well as that, reduce the cost of things like that and fusions, and people are still going to be happy. And it'll also stop people getting ridiculously overpowered decks that are pretty much unbeatable in the next tier of the game unless they play hard or go hard. And it gives people the option of pushing harder themselves, or deciding to buy packs, or sitting back and relaxing. This is something that does tie into that trading system, maybe, is the ability to earn in-game currency. There are people who would love to buy packs, who would love to speed up a fusion, who would love to buy themselves a collector's edition card, but don't have the ability to do it. Well, what if you grinded yourself 10,000 games and got yourself 5,000 credits? You could go and buy yourself a throwback pack. You could go and get yourself another couple of bouts in Money in the Bank, completely free of charge. That would be an option of giving people the ability to use credits but not have to necessarily spend money to get them. It rewards the people who play the game, which ultimately creates revenue from things like ads anyway. So I think it's a win-win. What do you guys think in the comments section? Let me know, that'd be great. I think it's something that could bring a massive amount of life to WWE SuperCard, and could mean that a lot of players end up becoming effectively masters of the game as such, by having a huge amount of currency just from playing. But also I think in-game currency should be rewarded for people who do pay for events, who do pay for cards, for finishing in a certain amount of time. Little small individual rewards just make people's interest peak a little bit more. Now, the last two things that I wanted to get out there were, first of all, a link to WWE 2K17. Now, I don't know what they could use as a link for WWE 2K17. That's not my decision. I'm not in charge of that. But a link to WWE 2K17 could just be the one thing SuperCard needs to bring it out to the masses. Even 2K themselves said that WWE SuperCard is an incredibly popular game. It is a massive money earner for them, and it's something they want to continue in the future. Maybe the ability to play a Money in the Bank mode online game, and if you win at that online match, or you come second or third, you get yourself 40 Money in the Bank contracts. You do that on a repetitive basis, you're going to get yourself that, and it gives you the incentive to play that game as well as the other game, which is WWE SuperCard. Maybe play an exhibition match and play a hardcore match. If you win with a 5-star rating, you get yourself 30 in-game credits, which is probably like a penny, but it's something that incentivizes people to play. And it takes people sometimes 5 to 20 minutes to have those games, play those games online. It's not something that people can just do. They're actually pretty better to play WWE SuperCard, but people don't want to play SuperCard, but want to earn stuff by playing SuperCard, maybe earn rewards in both games. It creates a marvelous opportunity of compatibility and platforms, which creates rewards and benefits in both sets of games. I also think people who own W2K70, maybe the collector's edition, should have access to maybe a super card or a super token that is only available to them through that pack. That would again create something that's rare, unique, and something that's special. And the last thing that I think would be a must-have in WWE SuperCard Season 3 is an unlimited Road to Glory mode. Now, I'm not saying Road to Glory needs to be unlimited all the time, but something similar to that, with the ability to play. Exhibition is boring. It's the same thing over and over and over again. It's giving you the opportunity to have a bit more fun than just play the standard, yeah, we got a game here, we got a game here, oh, we just run out of bouts, okay, we have to wait another hour or so for that to happen. What if there was no reward at the end of it other than just playing games and getting picks off the board, maybe even have it still at 2 or 3 picks, but having an unlimited mode where you can play Road to Glory considerably, maybe even make a task at the end of playing, let's say, 500 games in Road to Glory mode in 2 months, gets you a special card or a special image, something like I mentioned earlier, an achievement system or a reward system that gives you an incentive to play the game even more, or play it when certain things are happening. So what did you think of those ideas? Put them in the comment section below. I think all those would massively improve the game experience and give people that additional benefit, that additional reason to play WWE SuperCard, as well as maybe linking it to things like auction houses and W2K17, who knows going forward. But that is it from me. Remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Remember to also check out my Twitter, Instagram and Twitch details in the description below. Comment for what you think as well. And last but not least, as always, you know it's coming. Safe!